Welcome to Consultants and Freelancers Tableau User Group, meeting number 1, obviously a brand new tug. The agenda for today, because we've only got an hour, we'll get stuck into it quite quickly, is a quick intro on what the tug's about, who we are, who are we, how do you join the conversation. We're going to have Ludo presenting on how to use Notion and how to get more from your day. Fee's going to give us a presentation about Tableau Next as almost being in the wild. Obviously, after each presentation, there's a Q&A. Again, that's when you can unmute and talk if you like to. Towards the end, there'll be a non-recorded, open discussion, talk about opportunities. We'll have one slide on IronViz because it was just announced yesterday, and then discussions planning around the next meeting. So I'm not going to read all this, but it's basically, we came up with the idea of a consultants and freelancers tug to help consultants, freelancers, small business owners, anyone who's doing that sort of work around Tableau, data, etc. So our idea is to have a mix of talks, talk about market insights, talk about the market, talk about job opportunities, all that sort of stuff, all the way down to peer support and reviews. We won't be doing breakout rooms today. It's a good idea for the future as well. Basically, there's a lot of consultants online or freelancers, and even if you're not in that space, that's cool as well. And we're open to feedback to shape the tug, pardon me, to the way that you want to shape the tug. So all feedback's welcome. Who do you contact? So the 4 founders of the tug is Marco, who also runs his business called Motta Consulting, Fee and Sarah from DubDub Data, and myself from Visualize Data. So we've all started our businesses over the last several years and all in the Tableau data space. You've probably seen us before online. If not, contact us via LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. There's a WhatsApp group. We're talking about WhatsApp group. If you'd like to join the WhatsApp group or Slack or LinkedIn, we're on all those sort of platforms. Please get in touch for the conversation between the tugs and any feedback you may have, whether that's direct or general feedback as well. Happy to take on all suggestions and improve the tug as we move forward. But that said, let's get stuck into the presentations. Ludo is going to be taking us through Notion and how he gets getting more from your day. So how he's used Notion in his day. I'll hand it over to you, Ludo, and then we can do a Q&A at the end.
All right. Hello, everybody, and thanks for hosting me here on the very first tug, the consultants tug here. I'm going to say a few things about using Notion, and let me start off by saying it's bloody scary to talk about Notion because I definitely don't see myself as a specialist, and it is a note-taking tool, so it contains lots of my notes. So I've tried to come up with a way of showing Notion without showing my Notion too much, and I'm going to talk about how I use it. And I thought, let's do a bit of an immersive presentation. So what you're looking at here, this is Notion. And so what I did is I just used a Notion page here, and I'll walk through the presentation using that Notion page. Yeah, I'll just get started here. This is just a page in Notion, and what I've done is I've created a couple of these so-called toggles to walk through a sort of presentation. So let me start by why am I presenting this? Well, first of all, I'm a Tableau user, so hence I'm part of the DataFem discussion, and I'm also a Notion user and I'm a consultant. So there we are. But 4th point, I'm definitely not a Notion specialist. So don't expect lots of super cool tricks in Notion and how do you do this complex thing, because I'm not that person. This whole presentation came about because a few weeks ago, somebody on one of the WhatsApp group said, hey, has anyone used Notion and do they want to talk about how they implemented it? And I said, yeah, I use Notion. And straight away, I think it was Fee jumped on this saying, here's our first talk for the user group. So here we are. So that is why me. Now, what is Notion? at a very high level, it's basically a note-taking tool. So I've got the website open here. It all looks very fancy. You can do lots of things in Notion. It looks like way more than just a note-taking tool, and they actually have recently introduced things like Notion Mail, Notion Calendar, and so on. But at its core, it's just a note-taking tool. You've got a web interface, which is quite good. It's fine to use. They have a Windows app. I'm sure they have a Mac app, but I don't have a Mac. And there's a mobile app. And I actually was just testing today that the live synchronization between those is really good. It's just like Google Docs, basically. And just to start off with a quick demo, a couple of things that I liked about Notion are things like Notion is very heavily based on Markdown, the Markdown type of formatting. It's very much created as blocks, and I'll show you what that is later on. It works with databases, and anyone like us will like that, obviously. You can use templates, and you can embed lots of stuff in Notion, but I won't show too much of that. So I'll quickly go down to some demo stuff here. So what do I mean with Markdown? It's just a quick way to format any text that you have. So for example, here, I've got some lorem ipsum text in here, and well, already I can show that this is seen as a block. That's already that part. So you can move things around like a block, but here I can say this should actually be code. So either I can use a command for that, or I can say here turn into code, for example, and that will turn that into code. So it formats it based on certain basic principles. I can highlight things. I was actually testing this just beforehand, and the highlight function didn't work. Oh, it does work now. So quick. One thing I like is very heavily keyboard focused, so you can do a lot with your keyboard. There are lots of keyboard shortcuts, and I should have that open somewhere here. Yeah, obviously, like you expect from a tool like this, there are pages with just lots of keyboard shortcuts that you can use. I'm not going to teach them here, obviously, but I will be using a couple here. One of the things that I've used here is the toggle option, and there's a so-called turn command. So you've typed something, and then later on, like, I want to turn this into something else. For example, I want to turn this into a toggle, and you can just do that. And now it was supposed to go in here. So this is the toggle. You can hide parts of your text that way. Then you can really, like any kind of HTML type of text, you can work with headings. This is a heading, and either again with one of those turn commands, or here you can say, well, this should be a heading 1, and it just makes it quick to do that. And as part of the whole structure that you have here, you can have pages and sub pages in there. So here, for example, I've created a sub page like that, and this is now a page underlying the first page that I showed. And you can see here in the breadcrumb that I'm working in a page called projects. In there, I have this Notion talk and then the sub page, and I can add that breadcrumb here as well. So there's lots of little things that you can add here to your notes to organize things. And if I just go back here, I'll quickly switch to this, but then I'll go back to the demo. So it competes with tools like Evernote, Confluence, Google Keep or Google Doc, and Trello and so on. But I would say that compared to some of them, you work very much in one place. You work just in the Notion interface. For example, with Google Docs, you would be switching between docs. And what I remember from Evernote is that it at some point became a very big mess of just everything. So you didn't have as much structure as you have in Notion. Going down here to a few more things. Things that you can do here is, for example, add a quick table of content. When I added a page here, it's just add page, and there's a new page. my new page. And you can keep writing, so it's really easy to make sort of sub documents, and you see everything is linked. So this now has the updated name. This is my new page. You can link to lots of things. For example, later on, I'm going to show something called let me pass by that. But you can easily link between pages. Now I remember that's with the @ so I'm going to show something called my journal, and I just mention that, and here I've created a relationship between those two things. Hyperlinks, obviously. And then the thing that people like us will like, you can work with databases. So either a page can be a database, or you can create inline databases. So here I can just say, create me an inline database. And this is where all the structuring happens inside Notion. So I can create something here. I can give each item in my database a name. And I can add properties to that. So this is going to be my page 1. And as you see, once I add that, that becomes a page in itself again. And you can really start using that to structure your notes. And finally, some people like this. There is light mode and there is dark mode. So unless anyone disagrees, I'll continue the demonstration in dark mode from here. But yeah, I would say that those databases are really powerful and really cool, but it can also lead you down a rabbit hole of organizing everything. And that is something that I later want to talk about. So where do I use it? I definitely use it for work stuff and for personal notes, which, like I said, makes it a bit scary to demo live on screen here. What was I using before? Mainly, I was using Evernote, I would say. And I quite liked Evernote. I didn't like the fact that you got pop-up after pop-up saying, oh, you can pay for us now. That really annoyed me at some point. And I would say Notion does not do that as much. And I would say I was using paper for sort of personal journaling. I was using WordPress at some point, Google Docs, and sometimes you just need to jot down a quick note, and I would just open a notepad. And it became a mess. So I felt I need to have everything in one place and have some sort of structure so I can not only find everything, but also structure it to some extent. And then I saw Notion, and I started to think about, shall I switch to Notion? It was really the structure that got me, where I felt like that is something that I need. But I also felt a bit anxious about, well, nothing's really perfect. So why would I switch? What would I use this for? So when I switched to Notion, I started using it for small things and really built from there. And yeah, I went one use case at a time, sometimes researched a little bit, like how would I do something like this? But never, I wouldn't use a feature because the feature was there, because that really is a risk with a tool this powerful for something that is really just note-taking. I feel like note-taking should be something that's really simple. So the features that I use are things like the markdown that I just showed, databases, tagging and filtering. They're nice. Those commands like turning something into something so that you can just stay in the flow, just use your keyboard for everything. Sometimes I use it for code blocks, but I have found that really storing a lot of code in Notion is not great. You just want to use a GitHub or something for that if you really have code to work with. But sometimes little snippets I would store in there. But I want to focus a little bit on what I don't use and really why I don't use those things on purpose. One of those things is Marketplace. I've opened it up here and I can show it from this sidebar as well. There's a Marketplace here, and that opens this page. And here you see all sorts of templates and pre-built pages by other people, and it looks really fancy, and it kind of draws you in like an Instagram feed. It's like, oh, that's beautiful, and that's great, and that's pretty, and oh, I need that. But in the end, I found something like this, do you really need this? Do you really need something that looks this fancy, or do you just need the simplest of simple tools that allows you to tick something, and that's what you work with? And I found that this is just a distraction, and I don't need more distractions. That's my opinion about this. So there is a lot, and you can use it to learn from, but I personally don't use it. There are, so marketplace themes, I don't really use those. There is an option to collaborate. Here you see this start collaborating thing here. It is meant to be a tool like a Confluence, which you can use at an organization. I've simply not used it for that myself. There is a calendar, there are AI options, and there are also AI meeting notes, which started popping up a few weeks ago for every Teams meeting that I start. I don't use them. I don't know much about them, and I haven't felt the need to investigate all that much. What I do want to explore, I always feel a bit iffy about storing all my data inside one tool. So there are export options where it allows you to export in, I think it's JSON format, so that you can have a personal backup and you don't rely too much on a tool. There's always that fear of, are they at some point going to say, if you want to keep using all your notes, you're going to be charged $20 per month. Yeah, I want to make sure I understand the export options before that moment comes. And there is a way to create relations. And one way I might use that is, for example, I would create a database with one of the properties being a customer for different projects that I run, storing one list of customers, almost like a dimension table. And then when I have a new project, I kind of source the customer from that customer database, and it would allow me to have a customer homepage where I show all the notes that I have for that customer. That would be one thing that I have looked into just a little bit, but haven't really gone in depth with that. But as you see, it's all kind of that database thinking. Like, I don't want to be retyping things multiple times. I just want to have one customer database, one sort of dimensional table that I work off. And if time allows, I'm looking at Chris and Fee and Marco. We have a few more minutes, all right? I'll walk you quickly through the pages that I do use. And again, there's a lot that I actively don't use. And these are the things that I ended up with after using it for a year and a half or so, maybe a bit longer, that really are valuable to me. So first of all, there's a thing, a page with my projects. And one of the beautiful features in Notion is that you can just grab a database and you can say duplicate with content. And that's made my life really easy for this presentation. I duplicated with content and removed most, so I can show this projects page here where I got some dummy records showing what I would do is just create this database for all my projects, and each of these is a page in which I would go and start taking notes, basically. And so the page that I opened just now is one of those notes. And what I do in there is you can create properties in there. I can create more properties. There is the just created and last edited, but I can add tags. I can add custom. Ooh, that's supposed to say customer. That's a Dutch word in there. And you can use those for filtering and for searching and so on. So obviously there's a page like that. And here, for example, I can say I want to filter based on klant is Dutch for customer. Give me just customer 3. And here are the 2 notes that I have for that customer, right? So that's my first page that I use the most. Then secondly, I was already using something for journalings, just sort of as a daily practice, or just writing stuff down that happens in a day. And there you can, what I do is every day I write a new entry, or many days, and I date them myself so that I can just sort them by date. And one thing I want to show there is that you can use templates there. And this is one of the templates that I created based on, you Google for what's a good journaling practice. I created it, like what are notes, what are you grateful for, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, I never tend to use that. So I just added lots of Winnie the Pooh notes because that's what my kids like nowadays. Yeah, just to show, I think I should be able to show that here, that if I empty this, yeah, so I have some templates. So you can store a template and you can just click it and it will pre-populate it with that template. Oh yeah, this is still set in Dutch. So that's what you can use those templates for. But again, ask yourself, do you need that? Then I have some general notes. So just stuff that I would want to remember a long time. So for example, I have some information about my cars when they need a warrant of fitness and so on. Some other things that you just want to use long time, because I always needed a place to just store notes. You have something you learn, something you know, and you want to store it somewhere. Next, I have tried with a to-do list. I'm working with a to-do list in here. I've also used Trello for that. And yeah, I've never really found a perfect way of doing that, but you can use this in such a way where you say, okay, prep my Notion tuck talk, that is done. And then I've got a filter saying everything that's done, I don't need to see anymore. You can kind of all want to see this as Jira tickets. And by the way, a database like this, you can use multiple views. So this is the table view, but I can also show a board view, for example, with the different statuses that I have. And there are lots of different views like calendar view, even a map view that you can show here. I take notes on books that I read, so I keep those. I keep notes on people that I meet. So I have a note for every person, basically. These are the people in here. I probably better not open these notes for you guys. And one last thing, and then probably I have to stop, is things like index cards. Index cards, I learned that from a book, Bird by Routed. Like if you just have some sort of inspiration, you just have a place to write it down. Again, a couple of Dutch here. The other team, I had this idea like, hey, if you want to do a breakfast with the BI team, you can say it's the Byte AM. Something silly like that. You're not going to use it, but this way you've also not lost it. And there are other things like things my kids have said when they were young. And I have a bigger project that I'm running where I have lots of notes for one project. So that's, in a nutshell, how I use it. So coming back to the original, oh no, there was one last thing I want to say, and then I'll give it back to you guys if I can still find it. Where is my note? Got it filtered here. Yep, here we are. One last note that is my most important note here is a note that I've called Ugly Notes. And that is just that, and I named it very purposefully. It's just a dump place for any time that something happens and you need to quickly take a note, just having a page for that. I date every note that I take at least, but it can be ugly. That is like an inbox. And I think that's helped me a lot in just having a place to just dump stuff whenever it comes up. And then you can always process that later on. I'll stop there. I hope that's been useful. And I'll pass back to Chris.
Hey, awesome. Thanks, Ludo. I'm going to just butt in. There's a few questions that have been asked.
Yeah.
On here, so really interesting. I've not seen Notion live before. So Ashi has asked that She believes that Notion has the option to share and publish. What is the difference between the two, and what would you prefer?
I'll refer back to my earlier statement that I'm no specialist and I have no idea. I haven't used it for that. But yes, I have seen that you can make things public. And maybe if you make it public, you want to make it look nicer than what I do. I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that. Sorry.
That's okay. I snuck in a question there around, do you use it currently with any LLMs?
Very good question. Well, first of all, I don't, and there is that AI option in Notion, so I suppose you could say that's an LLM. I don't use it because I mainly use this to take notes. It's not really that I work in here so much, so I don't need it to do a lot for me. I just mainly need to store it in a logical place. So I would definitely not see it. I saw another comment about, I don't like it calling it a database. Yeah, it's not a database in that sense, right? You shouldn't see it as a database or use it as a database as such. It's just a very free texty type of database.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We have a combination of freedom and structure, but apart from that, that's it.
Thank you. And then Frederick has asked, can you do any web survey forms accessible by people without a login, similar to a Google form?
I think I've seen something like that, because I did see there's a form option, but again, I haven't used it myself. But it's an interesting one to have a look into, because it would sort of arrive in a different way than if it's a Google form. But maybe.
And then one last question, and we can obviously go maybe quickly if anyone else has got any. VJ has asked maybe a bit of a cheeky question: do we have any Tableau connector for this database?
I'm terrible in this Q&A. I again have no idea. I wouldn't think so.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Ludo. Does anyone have, maybe we've got time for one more question out there?
You can just ask in the chat, because we've got a few more things to get through.
Cool. Thanks, Ludo. So Fee has championed and become our subject matter expert for Tableau Next at this moment, and she is going to give us an amazing presentation from what she has learned and what Salesforce is telling us is happening and coming up as well. So over to you, Fee.
Thank you, Sarah, for that great introduction. Let me just share my screen. So, hey, I'm Fiona Crocker, a Tableau ambassador, consulting tug co-lead and co-founder of Dub Data. And I'm really excited to bring this session to you today because I believe that it's got a huge opportunity for Tableau consultants and freelancers in the Tableau Next space. Recently, I joined the Tableau Next hackathon using real client data because I wanted to push myself to understand how it's going to operate in the real world. And honestly, I do think it's a big opportunity for us. So Tableau Next is the next step for Salesforce Analytics. There's more AI coming, more automation, and supposedly everything working better together. It's a great time for us to be able to help our clients modernize and simplify their workflows and really get ahead with what's coming next. So to get started, let's chat about the concepts of Tableau Next and how all the different layers work together with a few insights from my hackathon experience. So Tableau Next is the new analytics platform from Salesforce, and it's built around 4 different layers. So data, semantics, visualization, and action. And it's where we can build where we can build online and integrate within the Salesforce core platform. What's really interesting for us as consultants or freelancers is there's also an external marketplace coming. So it's kind of like an app exchange, but for analytics. And this is where partners can build and share reusable solutions and make money off it. So it's not live yet. I think it's coming in about a year's time, but that's sort of the opportunity because you can get in front of it, start to build out your apps now and your frameworks that'll plug straight in when the marketplace launches. But for now, let's come right back into the present and see how Tableau Next actually works. So what you can see here on screen is actually the workspace on Tableau Next. But just a quick heads up, things are evolving really fast on the platform. And so I noticed the other day when I logged in that it actually looks quite different, but you still get into this workspace. Really interesting to see how things are moving along. In the workspace, think of it moving from the bottom up. So down the bottom, you can see the data. Then we have the semantic layer, followed by visualizations and dashboards. And then you build your actions on top of that. So where we start with is the data modeling, and we end up all the way into actions. There's no real jumping between different tools along the way. Tableau Next really builds on what we already know from Tableau, but it's a really new experience. So at its foundation, that data layer space is Data 360. They have just renamed it from Data Cloud. You may have heard that, but it's Salesforce's unified data layer. And what that means is it brings together all of the data into one space, whether that's in your Salesforce core platform or from your external database environments, which is really exciting. And for consultants, that's a big opportunity because there's a real skill gap out there at the moment. So getting certified on Data 360 is really important. When you do all your learning behind it, you'll learn the Salesforce data model, and then you'll be able to help your clients design strong connected architectures. But to be really clear, this platform's not going to replace Tableau Cloud. It's actually going to sit alongside it, and there's going to be interoperability between the solutions as well. So it's really expanding what's possible, and giving customers a more seamless way to move from data to insight to action. So the thing that I'm really excited about is this unified customer profile, which is in the data layer, and it's a way of resolving when you have multiple customer records from different environments coming together. You can really determine which one should be used for which reasons. And so it gives you the flexibility. You don't always have to choose the same one, but you can get quite close to the way that the data is operating. So for me, I'd have my fiona@dubdubdata.com email, but then I'd also have my VizCheck email as well. And they would be able to see that I am the same person because it's linked by my mobile number, for instance, and they can decide which way they want to go through. So really, really interesting. Or I've had a name change. So I got married last year. They could say, well, the most recent last name that they've collected on the solution is actually how they want to address me as well. For me, having previously worked in CRM land where that's super problematic to try and resolve, it's really interesting to see that that's going to be able to happen within the data platform and then being reused across Marketing Cloud, but also in Sales Cloud and Service Cloud as well. So really broadening the way that we think about data beyond just the dashboards. Some of the other features of the Data Cloud is that it allows you to connect to structured and unstructured data. You can access data on the cloud like Databricks and Snowflake with zero copy. So there's no duplication or syncing delays. And it means that you can deliver the sort of real-time trusted data across the business and your dashboards as well. So for those Salesforce core clients, it's really a no-brainer. You know, having that unified customer profile and building that single source of truth is really important. In our hackathon, Chris actually set this up by connecting to our data by connecting to an S3 bucket and having the data refreshing automatically through Data 360. Next up, we have the semantic layer, and Tableau says that it's an AI-powered layer that defines the meaning, where you're connecting business logic, metrics, and the context to data. It's not fully AI, that's for sure, but I did really enjoy during the hackathon spending a lot of time in the space and thinking about how I could better describe what each point of data was and how it should be used, because all of that context is really important as you move through the other layers. And I think it's going to become even more important, you know, as the platform matures and as BI matures as well, for analysts to really think about where they can provide value. And our curious natures and understanding how data actually operates, we're the perfect people to tune how the semantic layer actually works. We can get involved in data model design, metric standardization, but we can also do some really cool things in the data preparation space, because this semantic layer really helps the Tableau agent, which is the natural language component, understand how to process the information. So you can define sentiment, whether a number going up is good, bad, or neutral, and really shape how the behavior how the data behaves right from the start. So you can tune in here whether the data is a measure or a dimension, whether it's continuous or discrete. You can also draft calculations in here. You can use Einstein to assist if you can't be bothered jumping out into ChatGPT. So from my hackathon experience, I spent a shit ton of time in this layer, but it absolutely paid off once I was starting to get through into the natural language queries. And that's because I've given it all of the context, all of the descriptions, and all of the information in here to know how to process the information. This is just a quick slide to show you that's where you would enter your calc. So it's all the same sort of calculation syntax as what you have in Tableau. In addition to all of that context on each field, there's also a place to update overall information about the data and the business preferences. So again, there's context galore. What I was really, really excited last week to see announced at Dreamforce, though, was that they are improving the way that we as technical people can help to train the models and the data and provide feedback. So it will help the models improve over time and get better with feedback. Again, something to bear in mind as a consultant at how you can think about these practices and how you could apply them for your clients. Sitting on top of the semantic layer is the visualization layer. So that's where you have your typical Tableau visualizations. During my hackathon experience, I joked that because of the restrictions within Tableau Next, everything looked like a nail. So I would just use a big mallet. And what I meant by that is there's not as much opportunity to tune or to change the visualization. So we don't have as many visualizations available in Next as we do in regular Tableau. We also don't have a lot of things like, where we can place labels. Everything is really fixed. We can't even change the size of labels, for instance. But these things are all coming as Tableau are building things out really, really quickly. So in the hackathon, I was going really hard on pre-attentive attributes like color to really bang the message in and get it across. But what the real power, I think, of the visualization layer in Tableau Next is not actually in the visualizations or the metrics or the dashboards themselves. It's actually what's behind it in that semantic layer, and then on top of it with the action or agent layer, because you can start to query the data behind the visualization. So if you're seeing something that's sticking out, in our hackathon, we were looking at risky driving actions. So if you're seeing something happening that you're interested in, you can write a natural language query and the data will be queried off the semantic layer in the background. So in my case, the agent explained why risky actions were spiking in the early hours of the morning with potential reasons of low alertness, fatigue, and poor visibility. So all connected through data. So this makes it really exciting. I don't have to jam everything on the page. I can really have things sitting in the background, but available for people to query. So for us consultants, it's really about helping how clients govern and standardize their data and build reusable assets that will work seamlessly across Tableau, Salesforce, and Slack, for instance. The action layer is the next part that's designed for users to take direct action from the data insights and the visualization. So with Tableau Next, you're not just limited to, copying and pasting your things back out into Excel or into an email. You can click on a chart or filter and you can create or update records in Salesforce. You can trigger workflows in Slack or other tools. You can launch actions. So there's heaps of opportunity to keep that action flow actually working. So in the hackathon, I had Slack integrated so that every day as the data was changing, the latest updates posted straight to the team. Now, we didn't get to proactive alerting because work got in the way, but you can easily build workflows to make that happen. So I'm sure you've all heard of Agentforce, or maybe Mark Benioff's comments around Agentforce as well. It's a team of AI agents that work alongside people. And in Tableau Next, there's 3 digital AI helpers that are pre-built with analytical skills. You get Concierge, which helps you ask questions in natural language. Inspector, which surfaces proactive insights. And Data Pro, which assists with building and modeling visualizations. And realistically, these are all built to help us get to the insights faster, not actually replace the analysts as well. So it just helps everyone within the organization interact with data more naturally and effectively. So at the end of the hackathon, we didn't quite finish our hackathon entry. Work got in the way, but we did learn a lot. The winners, Bistery, who are a consulting firm out of Europe, built an app called Next Question that connects Tableau Next as well as Tableau Classic, so that's Tableau Cloud, and Slack. So bringing analytics right into the flow of the work. And so they were comparing and migrating visualizations between platforms and showing what's possible with that interoperability. Gee, that word's a bit of a mouthful. Anyway, it's a great example of where Salesforce is heading, making analytics accessible, conversational, and connected. And I highly recommend that you check out their video. The team are really funny in the way that they put it through, and it was a really brilliant submission as well. So time to wrap up. I just wanted to touch on a few of the opportunities for people that are in the consulting and freelancing space. You might wonder why I run my own consulting business and why would I share with you where I think there's market opportunities? Because there's a real gap in the market at the moment. And I really believe that bringing people together like you, we can all build a stronger community around Tableau Next and, build things out, perhaps even work together as well. So I think that there's a big opportunity that's on the horizon. Sarah May, from what I understand, is to be deprecated. So there's going to be migration opportunities. That's the existing Salesforce analytics that's integrated in their platform. They're going to be coming off that and going into Tableau Next. We also have the ability to think about and consider how to design data workflows with semantics in line, so we get all of that reusable business logic, consistent metrics. We'll be able to talk to the clients about interoperability. So if people are already on cloud, how do they take the next step into Next? And looking at their integration between the platforms. But you really have a huge opportunity to be the first mover. So people are going to need to have trusted partners who can translate this marketing into delivery, and you'll be able to launch those first apps onto the marketplace. So I think this really is the moment that we can lead the conversation grounded in our Tableau visualization expertise, but being focused on client outcomes and ready to shape what comes next. I would really love if you use the QR code to connect with me on LinkedIn and subscribe to our Dub Data YouTube channel. We run a podcast. We try to bring topics like this to the surface and get lots of great people from around the world coming and talking on different topics related to Tableau or data and AI. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. I'm now open for your questions.
Hey, Faye, just a quick one. And congrats for doing the hackathon or almost doing it. At China was disaster. Anyway, do you have any indication of future costings for clients?
Currently it's on you get access into Tableau Plus. When you get access into Tableau Plus, you get access into Tableau Next. But I do believe that there's, in the discussions that I'm having with the account execs at the moment, they understand that the product's brand new, right? So this product's gone GA in June of this year, I think it was. And so they know that it's brand new. They know that it hasn't got all the bells and whistles. So it doesn't have maps, for instance. So there's a huge opportunity to get on it and pilot. And I would say if you're already on Tableau, you want to go on, your client's already on Tableau, have the discussion with the account exec to say, can I trial this on a POC and see how it's going to integrate and work together. There are some consumption like there are consumption credits that are required. So when you're processing things, that will become a huge thing in our space to really understand how we're building and designing. So everything that you build, for instance, everything that you build, for instance, on the metrics, the more information that you're bringing into the metrics in the background to surface the auto-generated insights, the more consumption credits that are used in there. So you've got to be quite specific around what you think is going to be important. And that is still at this stage a bit of an unsure area when I go and have that discussion with the AEs. But my experience so far, they're pretty willing to open it up.
I was typing a question, but I can't. Now that there's space, I'll ask in person. For clients that are not on Salesforce, would you say there is a big benefit in, I guess, moving eventually to Tableau Next, or in reality, it feels as at the moment there's probably more disbenefits than benefits in moving to Tableau Next. Maybe in the future there'll be, I don't know. Is that your sense? I just can't quite quantify that.
Yeah, Marco. So if I was talking to a client that didn't have any Salesforce needs, I would probably recommend that they stay at the moment in Tableau Cloud and in the environment. But what I really love about Next is it's all being built like browser-based. So when you think about your organization and you might have 1,000 employees and 100 of them need to be going and building something, it can become quite difficult to get that software loaded on enterprise organizations. And so having something that's completely browser-based, if they get feature parity, it'll be amazing. The other thing that I really love is, that as I said, the integration to find that single source of truth on the customer side. And I really think that's a huge, strong benefit. So my recommendation, and I don't know that this would be anyone else's, but from my perspective, if you're not using Salesforce in any way, stick with Tableau. If you're using Salesforce in any way, have both Cloud and Tableau Next, but eventually you'll have Tableau Next completely.
Thanks for that.
Welcome.
Can't see any other questions in the chat, but maybe
I've got one more.
Yeah.
Last time
go ahead.
I tried, you could only add static files like a CSV or Excel file when you go add data. You can't really connect to a table in the database. Is that still the case?
So maybe you were connecting directly through Next. So generally, in order to set up the data model, you need to go into Tableau Cloud. Okay. Sorry, into Data Cloud, Data 360, and set up the data model in Data 360. So that's where you'll get the automation coming through. What you would have seen from loading the table through the Next interface, it doesn't give you that same ability to go and do all of the scheduling, etc. So it's just giving you more of an ad hoc analysis.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll use the wrong thing then.
Yes. But that's okay. It's all brand new. And what I really loved about getting closer to Data 360, so I've done a lot of study on it. I'm going to end up going and doing my certification on it because there is a lot of opportunity out in market, because not many people actually understand it. And I really enjoyed going through the training to understand more about the Salesforce platform, because you have to understand how permissions are assigned and how different role types and behaviors are. So you really start to get right across the Salesforce platforms. So yeah, that was really beneficial for me.
So we might need to move on, and thanks for the
Absolutely.
answers and everyone for the engagement with this. We probably don't have a whole lot of time, but we'll let, I think that was the point of some of when we and Fiona kind of talked about this, we really wanted to have an open discussion more than lots of presentations. So hopefully we can get a little bit of that discussion going
Oh, and just a quick pitch for IronViz. So now we're back onto the recorded part. For all of those who are watching or listening to this on YouTube, you've missed the live conversation that's not included in this recording. But IronViz is on right now. Go to the link, read up about it. It is your opportunity to win, what is it, $10,000 this year and appear on stage at TC. If you want to rebuild your dashboard or rebuild a new dashboard in less than 20 minutes, go for it. Our next meeting is probably January. We're not exactly locked in on that date yet, but we're after a quarterly cadence for APAC. So think about around the end of January, you might be right. And we'll...
it could be early February at that point, but yeah.
Could be too. That's fine. And thank you for everyone for attending. I think the high number was 25. So that's pretty good for a first online meeting. As I said, the recording will be on YouTube really soon. And yeah, tell your friends and bring more people next time. Give us ideas on topics and we'll take it from there. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And feel free to drop your details in the chats on your LinkedIn, but also join the LinkedIn group. See ya.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Okay. See ya.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.